All right, so get this. Today we're deep diving into energy strands.
Energy strands.
Yeah. Have you ever felt like just thinking about someone really hard can like affect them?
Ooh, wow.
It's kind of out there.
It-
We're going to explore that today, and I'm really intrigued to get your take on it.
yeah, it's a fascinating idea. This whole energy strand thing.
Yeah,
It seems to be like right on the line between spirituality and psychology.
totally.
It's a really interesting concept.
So, our source material for this deep dive is a video by Doughty.
Okay.
He's a pretty popular spiritual teacher, and he describes energy strands as these invisible links between people that transmit energy, especially when we're thinking about them.
Okay.
He even suggests that this energy can have like a real impact on the other person.
Hmm.
What are your initial thoughts on this whole energy strand concept?
Well, it's definitely intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have like concrete scientific evidence for energy strands the way he describes them.
Right.
But it does make you think about all those times when you feel like weirdly connected to someone you know, even at a distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And psychology has definitely explored the idea that our thoughts and emotions can have some kind of impact on other people.
Right. Like, have you ever thought about a friend you haven't seen in forever and then they call you out of the blue?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like, whoa, how did that happen?
So why?
Did they sense I was thinking about them?
Right, exactly. And Doughty uses some pretty wild real-world examples in his video to illustrate his point.
Oh, really?
Like one that really stood out to me was this retreat he was at, and the speaker was like, "Send me your energy."
Oh, wow.
And he was like, "Oh my God, I felt this intense, like repellent energy, almost like pushing him away, like it was intrusive."
Wow.
But then when everyone like pulled their energy back, he said it was like this total shift and it became like magnetic.
So he felt a difference between when they were projecting energy and when they weren't?
Yeah, like a huge difference. That's interesting because it kind of relates to the concept of neediness in psychology.
Oh, tell me more.
Like when someone is really desperate for your approval or attention,
Right.
you can kind of sense that energy and it's almost always off-putting.
Yeah, you pick up on those vibes for sure.
Yeah.
I've totally been there, especially like in dating.
Oh, yeah.
You can just sense when someone is trying way too hard.
Oh, totally.
And it makes you want to run in the other direction.
Yeah, you're like, "Get me out of here."
So maybe what Doughty's calling these energy strands is really just our subconscious picking up on those subtle cues.
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah, and he even makes this distinction between kind energy,
Okay.
which is given freely with no strings attached, and nice energy, which he sees as manipulative,
Oh, interesting.
even if it's disguised as being helpful.
That's deep.
Right.
So it's about intention. Like,
Yeah.
what's the real intention behind the energy?
Exactly.
I like that.
It raises all these questions about, like, are we genuinely offering support to the people?
Right? Or are we trying to fulfill some need in ourselves?
Exactly. Are we projecting our own stuff onto other people?
Totally. And even like seemingly positive actions could be driven by our own projections and desires.
It's true.
Doughty actually uses this example of sending Reiki to people at a breathwork session.
Okay.
And he suggests that this can sometimes be a way of avoiding our own emotional work.
Whoa.
So what do you think about that?
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
Like even something like Reiki, which is seen as so positive and healing,
Right.
could actually be a way of like bypassing our own stuff.
Totally. It's like, are we projecting our need to be the helper or the healer onto others, even if our intentions are good?
Right. And are we really helping them, or are we just making ourselves feel better?
Yeah, it makes me think about all the times I've said yes to helping someone when I was already like completely overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Was I really being kind?
Yeah.
Or was I just trying to avoid feeling guilty?
Right. Or like a bad person.
Totally.
It's so easy to fall into those patterns.
It is.
You know, we want to be helpful and we want to be good people,
Right.
but sometimes we're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we find that balance between offering support and maintaining like healthy boundaries?
Right.
Because I think those two can really coexist.
For sure.
So Doughty talks about this frame technique as a way to bring your energy back to yourself,
Okay.
especially if you tend to like overextend and lose your sense of self.
That sounds familiar.
Have you ever heard of this technique?
Yeah, a frame technique I have.
Okay.
It reminds me of the concept of self-regulation in psychology, which is essentially about learning to manage your own emotional state
Right.
before you try to fix or rescue others.
Okay.
It's like putting your own oxygen mask on first
Yeah.
before you assist anyone else.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So Doughty describes it as creating this like energetic boundary between yourself and others,
Uh-huh.
almost like you're building a protective shield.
I see.
He really emphasizes feeling that separation.
Like you're in your own space and less affected by what's going on around you.
Right.
He says it can help you feel safer in your own body and less susceptible to other people's emotions.
Interesting.
But how do you actually do that?
Yeah. How do you create that
Is
boundary?
it just like a mental thing?
Right.
Or are there like specific techniques involved?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
We'll have to dive into that.
Let's get into the how-tos.
But first, I think it's important to understand why this concept of energetic boundaries is so crucial.
I agree.
Like, think about those times when you felt drained or depleted after spending time with certain people.
Oh, yeah?
It's almost like they've sucked the energy right out of you.
Totally. Energy vampires.
Right.
They exist.
And Doughty would argue that this is because your energetic boundaries were weak and you allowed their energy to intrude on yours.
Right. You were too open.
So it's like an invasion of your space almost.
It is kind of like that.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense because I can definitely think of a few people in my life who leave me feeling completely exhausted.
Yeah.
Even if we weren't doing anything particularly draining.
Exactly.
So by strengthening our energetic boundaries, we're essentially creating a shield.
Right.
That protects us from those energy vampires.
Exactly.
But like a force field.
Exactly like a protective bubble.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you got to protect your energy.
I love that.
It's precious.
It's so important, and it's not about shutting people out or becoming emotionally detached.
Right.
It's about creating that safe space for yourself so that you can show up in relationships from a place of wholeness and strength.
Exactly. It's like healthy detachment.
Yeah, I love that it's like creating a buffer zone so that you can connect with others,
Right.
but without feeling overwhelmed or drained.
I like that buffer zone.
Right.
It's a good visual.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how this kind of subtle shift in perspective can make such a big difference in how we interact with others.
Totally.
It's all about the energy.
It is all about the energy.
We're energetic beings.
So we've talked about these energy strands,
Right.
the concept of neediness
Yeah.
and the importance of boundaries.
Yes.
But Doughty also shares this incredible story about a woman at his event in Sedona who was going through a really tough divorce.
Oh, wow.
And she used the frame technique to shift the energy.
Okay.
And she ended up getting this like surprisingly positive outcome.
Really?
You ever heard that story?
The Sedona divorce story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard that one.
Okay, so she describes how her ex-husband, who had been really difficult throughout the whole divorce process, suddenly became like much more cooperative after she started using the frame technique.
Interesting.
And he even offered her the house and made things much easier for her.
Wow, so it seemed like her energy shifted his behavior.
Yeah, it's a powerful example of how shifting our internal state can sometimes affect the people around us.
It is.
Yeah, it's almost like she created a more harmonious energy that somehow influenced her ex-husband's behavior. But I also wonder if there's a danger in seeing this technique as a way to manipulate others to get what we want.
That's a really good point.
Like, are we trying to Jedi mind trick people?
Yeah, you don't want to use it like that.
Right.
It's important to approach these concepts with a sense of responsibility
Totally.
and integrity.
Yes.
You know, the frame technique and any kind of energy work shouldn't be used to control or manipulate others.
Right.
It's primarily about personal empowerment,
Okay.
feeling safe and grounded in yourself, regardless of what's going on around you.
So you're not trying to force someone to do something.
Right.
It's more about creating a more positive and empowered energy within yourself
Exactly.
that might influence the situation
Right.
in a more harmonious way.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have more agency than we often realize,
Totally.
and that our thoughts and emotions have a real impact on our experience.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
It makes me want to explore this concept of energetic influence even further. Doughty even suggests that the types of people we attract into our lives might reflect our own internal state. Like if you're constantly encountering controlling people,
Right.
maybe it's a sign to examine your own boundaries and patterns.
That's interesting.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it makes you think, right?
It does.
It's like, what are we putting out there that's attracting those kinds of people into our lives?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a really thought-provoking idea.
It is.
It suggests that our external reality
Yeah.
is really just a reflection of our internal world.
Oh, wow.
So if we want to change our external reality,
Right.
we need to start by changing our internal state.
Oh, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From energy strands and neediness to the frame technique.
Yeah.
And the idea that our internal state might be influencing who we attract.
That's a lot.
It is.
A lot to unpack.
So where do we go from here?
Good question.
Why should someone listening to this even care about this whole energy thing?
Right.
How can they actually apply these concepts to their own life?
Yeah. How do we make this practical?
Exactly.
That's a great question. And it leads us perfectly into the next part of our discussion.
Oh, I love it.
Stay tuned as we explore the practical implications of these ideas
All right.
and how you can actually start experimenting with them
Yes.
to create more positive and fulfilling relationships.
This is going to be good.
It is. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've established that our energy might actually play a way bigger role in our relationships than we realize.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It is, but can we actually change our energy to attract like different types of people? Can we manifest specific relationships?
That's a great question, and that's where things get kind of tricky.
Okay.
I think it's important to remember that while we might like the idea of manifesting specific people into our lives,
Right.
we don't want to fall into the trap of trying to control other people. Everyone has their own free will,
Yeah.
their own path.
Totally. It's not like we're trying to cast a love spell or anything.
Right, exactly. It's less about manipulating someone
Okay.
into our lives
Yeah.
and more about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts the relationships that we want.
So instead of focusing on a specific person, we should focus on cultivating the qualities within ourselves
Yeah,
that would attract those types of people in general.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's about aligning your energy with what you desire in a relationship.
Okay, I like that. So how do we actually do that?
Right.
What are some practical steps we can take to shift our energy and become more attractive to the right people?
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it all starts with self-awareness.
Okay.
What are the qualities that you truly value in a partner or friend?
Okay.
What kind of energy do you want to experience in your relationships?
So basically getting really clear on what we're looking for.
Exactly.
Not just the superficial stuff, but the deeper values and qualities that really matter.
Exactly. And then it's about embodying those qualities in your own life.
Okay.
So think about it this way. If you're looking for a partner who's kind and compassionate,
Okay.
how can you be more kind and compassionate in your everyday life and your interactions with everyone?
Oh, that's a good point.
If you want friends who are supportive and uplifting,
Mm.
are you being that kind of friend to the people in your life already?
That's so true. It's like the classic be the change you want to see in the world,
Yes.
but applied to relationships.
Exactly.
We attract what we put out there.
It's the law of attraction in action.
I love it.
And it's not about pretending to be someone you're not.
Right.
It's about genuinely cultivating those qualities within yourself.
I love that Doughty also talks about how people with controlling tendencies often attract people who have weak boundaries.
Oh, interesting.
So if we want to stop attracting those types of people, we need to work on strengthening our own boundaries.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Learning to say no, setting limits, and honoring your own needs are so essential
Absolutely.
for creating healthy, balanced relationships.
When you value yourself and your well-being,
Right.
you naturally attract people who will do the same.
It's like you're sending out this clear signal that you're not willing to tolerate being treated poorly.
Exactly.
And that confidence can be really attractive.
Absolutely. It all comes back to self-worth.
Totally.
When you believe you deserve to be treated with respect, you're less likely to settle for anything less.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if someone is really stuck in a pattern of attracting unhealthy relationships?
Right.
How do they break free from that cycle?
It's a great question.
Is it really as simple as changing their energy?
I mean, it's not always simple,
Right.
but it is possible.
Okay.
It takes willingness to be aware of those patterns that are playing out in your life
Yeah.
and to challenge them.
Right.
Therapy or counseling can be super helpful for uncovering deeper issues
Okay.
and developing healthier coping mechanisms.
I can see how that would be beneficial. It's like we're rewiring our brains to create new neural pathways
Yes.
that support healthier relationships.
Exactly. It's about creating new patterns and beliefs
Right.
that align with the kind of love and connection you really desire.
Okay. I love that Doughty also talks about the importance of feeling safe in your own body.
Yes.
How does that tie into attracting healthy relationships?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
When you feel safe and grounded in yourself,
Okay.
you're less likely to seek external validation
Right.
or try to control other people's behavior.
Totally.
That inner security allows you to show up in relationships
Yeah.
from a place of wholeness rather than neediness.
It's like you're radiating a different kind of energy.
Exactly.
A calmer, more confident energy.
Yes.
That attracts people who are also secure in themselves.
You're more likely to attract people who are also looking for a genuine connection.
Right.
Rather than someone to like complete them or fill a void.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of this connects. But what if someone is like really doing the work, setting boundaries, feeling more secure, embodying those qualities they want in a partner,
right,
but they're still not meeting anyone?
Yeah.
Does that mean this whole energy thing isn't working?
That's a really common question.
Okay.
I think it highlights the importance of patience and trust.
Okay.
Remember, there's no magic formula for finding love or friendship.
Of course.
It's a combination of factors.
Right.
Like timing, opportunity, and yes, energetic alignment.
So it's about putting in the work, but also like surrendering to the process.
Yeah.
And trusting that the right people will come into your life at the right time.
Exactly. Focus on enjoying your life now.
Okay.
Like when you're genuinely happy and fulfilled on your own, you become a magnet for positive experiences.
That's so true.
Including relationships.
It's funny how that works. It's like when you stop searching so hard.
Yes.
That's when things tend to like fall into place.
And when you do meet someone special, you'll be in a much stronger position to create a healthy, fulfilling relationship.
Yes.
Because you've already done the inner work to prepare yourself.
Totally. Doughty spends a lot of time talking about the frame technique in his video.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really give like specific instructions on how to do it.
Right. It's more of a concept.
Yeah. What are some practical ways people can experiment with this idea of bringing their energy back to themselves?
Well, one powerful technique is mindfulness.
Yeah. Okay.
Becoming aware of where your attention is going.
Okay.
Is a good place to start.
Right.
Are you constantly focused on what other people are thinking or doing?
Right.
Or are you grounded in your own experience?
That's a good point.
Practices like meditation and breathwork can be super helpful.
Yeah.
For cultivating that internal awareness.
That makes sense. It's like training your mind to stay present.
Exactly.
Rather than getting caught up in all the mental chatter.
Right. All the noise.
About other people.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you notice your mind wandering to someone else, you just gently bring it back to yourself.
Yes.
Notice your breath, your body, your senses.
It's a simple act, but it can make a huge difference.
So it's not about trying to block out thoughts of other people altogether.
Yeah.
It's more about like shifting your focus back to yourself.
Exactly.
When you notice your energy like leaking out.
Precisely. It's about finding that balance between connection and separation.
Totally.
We're naturally social beings.
We are.
But we need healthy boundaries.
Yes.
To maintain our sense of self.
I love that this all sounds great in theory.
Yeah.
But what if someone has experienced trauma or has like really deep-seated insecurities that make it hard to feel safe in their own skin?
That's a really important point.
Where do they even begin?
Yeah, that highlights the importance of seeking professional support.
Okay.
You know, when needed.
Right.
Trauma and deep-seated insecurities can create energetic blocks.
Oh, wow.
That make it really hard to feel safe and grounded.
So it's not just about applying a quick mental technique like the frame.
Exactly.
It's about addressing the deeper emotional and psychological layers that might be contributing to that feeling of energetic vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's important to approach this with self-compassion.
Yeah.
Healing takes time.
Of course.
And it's okay to ask for help along the way.
Doughty also touches on the idea that people with avoidant attachment styles might crave more space, while those with anxious attachment styles tend to lean in for connection.
Right.
Which can sometimes push people away.
Interesting.
Do you think this ties into the energy strands concept at all?
I think that's a great observation.
Okay.
It shows how our attachment patterns can actually influence the energy we project.
Totally.
Someone with an anxious attachment style might be unconsciously sending out energy that feels needy or clingy.
Right.
Which could trigger an avoidant person's need for distance.
Oh, it's like an energetic dance.
Yeah.
Where our subconscious patterns are like playing out in the subtle ways we interact with each other.
Exactly. And becoming aware of our own attachment patterns is a powerful step toward understanding why we attract certain types of people into our lives.
Right.
And how we might be contributing to those dynamics.
I love that earlier we were talking about Doughty's distinction between kind energy and nice energy.
Right.
Where nice energy can actually be manipulative. Can you give some real-life examples of what that might look like?
Sure. Let's say you have a friend who's constantly doing favors for people.
Oh, okay.
But they always seem to have an ulterior motive.
Oh, yeah.
Like they want something in return or they need constant praise.
Right.
That could be an example of nice energy,
Got it.
where the actions might seem helpful on the surface, but they're actually driven by a need for validation or control.
So it's like the intention behind the action matters just as much as the action itself.
Kind energy is genuine and comes from a place of true compassion, without any expectation of reciprocity.
So it's about giving freely with no strings attached.
Exactly.
That makes me think about those times when I've felt obligated to help someone, even though I didn't really have the time or energy.
Right.
Was I really being kind, or was I just trying to avoid feeling guilty?
That's a perfect example of how our own internal state can actually influence the energy we project.
Totally.
It's important to be honest with ourselves about our motivation.
Yeah.
If we're helping out of guilt or obligation, that energy is going to feel different than if we're acting from a place of genuine care.
I'm starting to see how this whole energy strands concept can be a really powerful lens for understanding our relationships.
Yeah, it adds another layer of awareness.
Totally. It adds another layer of awareness to how we interact with each other.
And it challenges us to look beyond just the words and actions.
Right.
And to consider the subtle energetic dynamics that are always at play.
So we've talked about how our thoughts and emotions might have an energetic impact on others.
Yes.
But what about the flip side?
Okay.
Can other people's energy affect us?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
It's something people have been wondering about for centuries.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how you feel different around certain people?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like some people just drain your energy
Totally.
while others leave you feeling energized and uplifted.
All the time. I have some friends I can spend hours with and feel totally invigorated afterwards.
Yeah.
And then others who leave me feeling exhausted even if we haven't done anything particularly strenuous.
Exactly. And while some of that can be explained by personality differences and communication styles, there's also this intangible element of energetic compatibility.
Yeah.
Some people's energy just seems to resonate with ours, while others clash.
So how do we protect ourselves from those energy vampires?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is. Doughty mentioned setting boundaries, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, setting energetic boundaries is a lot like setting physical boundaries.
Okay.
It's about being clear about what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not.
Gotcha.
It might involve limiting your time with certain people.
Okay.
Saying no more often.
Right.
Or simply creating an energetic shield around yourself.
Like imagining yourself surrounded by a protective bubble of white light.
Exactly.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah. Visualization is a powerful tool.
Cool.
The key is to find what works for you.
Right.
It's about trusting your intuition and honoring your own energetic needs.
Okay, let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, all right, this energy strand stuff is kind of interesting, but I'm still not convinced it's real.
Right.
It all sounds a bit woo-woo.
Yeah, I get that.
What would you say to them?
I would say that's totally understandable.
Okay.
It's a concept that requires a certain level of open-mindedness, but I would encourage them to approach it with curiosity.
Okay.
What if there's more to our reality
than
we can currently perceive with our five senses?
That's a good point.
What if our thoughts and emotions do have this ripple effect that extends beyond our physical bodies?
It's like that saying the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
Exactly.
Just because we can't measure something scientifically doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. And throughout history, many things that were once considered woo-woo have later been validated by science.
Yeah, like germs.
Exactly.
We couldn't see them, but they were there.
The key is to stay open to new possibilities.
Right.
While also maintaining a healthy sense of discernment.
So it's about finding that balance between skepticism and open-mindedness.
Exactly.
And being willing to experiment and see what you discover for yourself.
I love that.
All right, I'm ready to take this to the next level.
Okay, let's go.
Doughty suggests that the people we attract into our lives might reflect our internal state. But what if we want to attract different types of people?
Okay.
Can we actually change our energy to attract more positive relationships?
That's a really empowering question.
It is.
And it leads us into a really interesting realm.
Okay.
Where personal growth and this energetic awareness intersect.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Let's delve deeper into this fascinating connection.
Okay.
In our next segment.
Okay, so we've been talking about how our energy might actually play a role in like what kinds of relationships we attract.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating concept.
It is, but what if we want to attract different types of people into our lives? Is it really possible to like change our energy to attract more positive relationships?
That's a great question, and I think that's really where personal growth and this whole idea of energetic awareness really intersect.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. Like, can we actually manifest specific relationships just by shifting our energy?
Well, manifesting specific people can be kind of tricky.
Right.
I think the main thing to remember is that everyone has their own free will, you know?
Of course.
We don't want to fall into that trap of trying to control others.
Right. It's not about manipulating someone.
Exactly. It's more about becoming a vibrational match for the kind of relationships that we want.
Okay.
Like attracts, right.
So instead of focusing on a specific person, we should focus on cultivating the qualities we want to see in a partner in general.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
If you're looking for someone who's kind and compassionate,
Okay.
focus on embodying those qualities in your own life.
Okay.
If you want friends who are supportive and uplifting, be that kind of friend to others.
It's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world, but applied to relationships.
Exactly.
We attract what we put out there.
Yeah, it's about aligning your energy with what you want.
Doughty talks about how people with controlling tendencies often attract people who have weak boundaries.
It's true.
So if we want to stop attracting those types of people, we need to work on strengthening our own boundaries.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, learning to say no, setting limits, honoring our own needs are so important for creating healthy, balanced relationships.
Absolutely. When you value yourself, you naturally attract people who respect you.
It's like you're sending out a signal that says, I'm not going to tolerate being treated poorly.
Right.
And that confidence can be really attractive.
Totally. It all comes back to self-worth.
Yes.
When you believe you deserve to be treated well, you're less likely to settle for less.
What if someone is stuck in a pattern of attracting unhealthy relationships?
Yeah, that's a common issue.
How do they break free?
It takes a lot of self-awareness and inner work.
Right.
Recognizing the patterns and being willing to change them.
Right.
Therapy can be really helpful for uncovering deeper issues.
Okay.
And developing new coping mechanisms.
It's like rewiring our brains.
Yeah, creating new neural pathways that support healthier relationships.
Love that Doughty also mentions the importance of feeling safe in your own body.
Yes.
How does that tie into attracting healthy relationships?
When you feel safe and grounded in yourself,
Okay.
you don't need as much external validation.
Totally.
You're less likely to try to control others.
Right.
You can show up as a whole person, not out of neediness.
It's like you're radiating a different kind of energy, like a calmer, more confident energy.
And that attracts people who are also secure in themselves.
So you're more likely to attract people who are looking for a genuine connection.
Exactly. Not someone to complete them.
Okay, what if someone is like doing the work, they're setting boundaries, they're feeling more secure, embodying those qualities they want, but they're still not meeting anyone?
Yeah.
Does that mean this whole energy thing isn't working?
Not at all. It's important to remember there's no magic formula.
Okay.
Finding love or friendship is a combination of timing, opportunity, and that energetic alignment.
So patience is key.
Absolutely trust that the universe is working its magic.
Okay.
Focus on enjoying your life right now.
Right.
When you're genuinely happy, you become a magnet for all sorts of positive experiences, including relationships.
It's funny how that works. When you stop looking so hard, that's when things tend to fall into place.
Exactly. And when you do meet someone special, you'll be in such a stronger position to create a healthy relationship.
Because you've done the work.
You've laid the foundation.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has.
I feel like we've explored so much, from energy strands and the frame technique to attachment styles and the importance of boundaries.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but if there's one thing I'm taking away from this, it's that our internal world really does shape our external reality.
I completely agree. And it's pretty empowering to realize that we have more influence than we think.
For our listeners, we'll leave you with this thought to ponder. If you could influence someone with your energy, what would you want to send?
That's a good one.
What qualities would you want to radiate out into the world?
Yeah, what kind of energy do you want to share?
Take some time to reflect on your own inner landscape and see what you discover.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.